Welcome to another episode of Don't Panic Geocacher. This episode is called Fold, Flip and Find, and I'm going to talk about puzzles that include folding pieces of paper, flipping them, get the coordinates, and then finding the geocache, of course. So, this is about origami puzzles or puzzles that involve some kind of creative art with paper where you have to use the paper to somehow get the coordinates. I will give some real examples from geocaches that use this technique and show you some tips and tricks to make it easier and maybe do it slightly faster and help you with solving some of those and recognizing some of those. My name is Arjen and I go by Waterpen5 on the geocaching.com website. If you like this episode and think it's useful, please like and subscribe. That way you get notified when new videos come out. One more tip before we get started. I recommend to set the video to high resolution so you get the best experience when watching this video. So here are some examples of geocaches that use origami as part of the puzzle. So the first one is called the folding wings. This is one in Ireland, and we see here an image of the duck. That's going to be important because if we look at the puzzle, which is called Quack, we find this image. The trick here is that you have to fold this into the shape of a duck. So if you use your search engine and look for origami duck, you'll find some examples. Most common one will actually give you a nice coordinate when you fold it into a duck. Now, later on, I will show you a little bit of how I make this go faster for myself. I'll give you some tips and techniques of how you can solve these slightly faster, especially the second time. So here is another one. This one is in French, but it is in bilingual, or maybe it was Belgium. So it's Dutch and in French, the language, but we can recognize here the word origami in the text. And so it's going to talk about folding. And then if we look again at the attached images, we'll find here an image. Now, in this case, how you have to fold this is that you have to fold it, in this case, like a frog. So kind of similar. You have to find the correct origami for a frog, fold that, follow the lines, and you will have coordinates. So the last two are by the same hider. These are in the Netherlands. Um, so here we have to fold a star. This is one that I've seen before, and so for me this was again slightly easier because this was a star that I was familiar with. But here you see the piece of paper, and then the star will then give the coordinates. So here is the one, you have to print it out, look for the folding instructions of how to fold this star, and now you can read the coordinates as it will say on the cache page. I will use the last one to kind of show you how also, once you have done these, that you can actually uh, more easily redo them the next time. So in this case, we have to fold, and it's called different things, but basically it's a little eating thing, or in US it's often called a fortune teller to predict the future. So you have to fold a fortune teller, and then your fortune will give the coordinates if you open up the different areas. So here folding this piece of paper, but you see it's pretty hard to read it from this. However, it is still possible to read the coordinates from this if you have folded these before. And that's what I'm going to show you next. So here is what I do when I have to solve these. So when I print the puzzle or when I have to create the piece of paper to do it, I write notes of all the pieces when I have completed the puzzle. So here you see an example of the fortune teller, and at the top I write from top to bottom. I write the different locations, so top 1, top 2, top 3, top 4. And then when I open it up, in this case I mark them with middle, so middle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then when it opens up, it's basically the bottom or the inside, B1, B2, B3, B4. Because that means when I now unfold it, I know exactly the direction of all the locations. And so if I have to do another puzzle that requires it, I sometimes don't even have to fold it. I can simply look at my piece of paper and say, oh, they want to look at the inside. and it should be rotated like this. And then I can exactly see how they are inside the piece of paper. And that will just help me resolve this specific puzzle. So it's just a little tip. I have basically a stack of some of these that you see more common. The fortune teller is certainly used a lot, but there's a couple of other ones like swan that you see over and over where they said get the number from the wing. Well, I already know where the wing is, so I can basically see which number then lines up with my piece of paper. So here is another technique that has to do with folding pieces of paper or with origami puzzles. So you may see on certain puzzles, you may see strips or a certain image that looks like it represents strips of paper. And so here you see some examples of that have been utilized on different cache pages. All of these have one thing in common, and that they, at the end, include folding of this piece of paper to get the coordinates. Now the trick is how to fold them, and that's where there is some different techniques. So for example, here we see that they have blue and red. This one has a bunch of different colors. This one only has a single color, and this one has dashed lines and solid lines. Well, that typically means if you fold a piece of paper, you can kind of like fold it inwards or fold it outwards, or a valley or mountain folds. So basically, which direction are you folding? And so typically it means that the blue or the red represents a certain type of fold, either away from you or so outwards or inwards. So that is the thing that you have to figure out. If there is no clear distinction, so in these you see some different colors, but it may not be a clear distinction. Here there's only one color that is used. It probably means that you all have to fold them in the same direction. That's just a little tip when you see them, but all of these are folding puzzles. Now this can sometimes be a little bit tricky because, like I said, it's a little bit trial and error which way you have to fold them. There are some sites and uh, other videos that can help you. So this is what the end, what for example, the letters and the numbers could look like. Of course, it depends completely on the person folding them. But you see the certain lines that are taken here. So you see that this diagonal line that we saw in the puzzle, well, you see that it will make a 90-degree angle in the puzzle or in the folding paper. So with all these lines that basically go like this, that basically means that that becomes uh, a corner like this, like you see at the top of the two. So depending on the angle, you can already kind of like see what the fold is going to. So here you see the entire alphabet, for example, utilized within folds. And similar for all the numbers, there's kind of like certain standards, but of course, cache owners may have used their own little standards. So now if we go back to those 4 examples that we had, I folded them out for you and you see the different techniques that were being utilized. So the first one became a 3. And so here you kind of see in the middle, that is that kind of like middle part here of the 3, where one fold is basically towards you, while the other ones were away from you. So that created like this little angle. And so you see the symmetry as well, which is of course the symmetry of the 3 that is folded here. But in this case, you have to look at it from the side. So it's actually not a flat, it's actually you have to rotate it to fold it. The other ones here, this becomes an 8 because there's a very, like you see a cross because it's not truly a line. So this becomes this type of angle. And so on. So all of them have kind of like, this is at the end 2. And here you see also the trick that you very much have to find the pattern of, okay, what is going to stay at the top? What is going to stay at the bottom? So I often mark them like what is my top part. So I know that kind of like, okay, this is a 2 or no, this is going to be a 5, like the mirrored version, right? So that's going to be important when you make these scenarios. And then the last one, it's not completely clean one, but it is a 6 in the puzzle. So this is the scenario. So again, important because if you rotate it, it'll be a 9. So it's important to keep track of that. So this is a technique you see here from 4 different mystery caches. It's quite common that you see these when folding involved, that you have to fold letters or numbers, and sometimes both. That was it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. That way you get notified. It also helps other people find this series, and so that will help out other people getting ideas for mystery caches, how to solve them, and we get better mystery caches all around. If you want to leave a comment, feel free to comment on the YouTube, or you can contact me as WarderFan5 on the geocaching.com website. Always open to new ideas, new suggestions for videos, maybe some puzzles that you feel like haven't been discussed yet, that have original ideas. Always happy to take a look. You can also email me if that's easier. So geocacher.waterfan5@gmail. You can reach me right there. With that, thank you very much for listening, and hopefully it will help you solve some more mystery caches.